Hey, welcome back to Mr. B's, everybody. I'm Chris Williams. He is Tim Sitzmann here at 1995 Northwest 86th Street in Clive, Iowa. That's just a little bit more beautiful today, Tim.
What a beautiful morning, and it is great to be in Clive, and it's great to be a Clone fan this morning. What a game. What a game, Chris.
27-10.
Wow.
Cyclones over Northern Illinois, a game where, if you look back at the first look video we did here, Tim, and I've been preaching all summer long, it's going to be a tough game. It was. The game was... it was never in doubt, but Northern Illinois made a run there at the end against the Iowa State Cyclones last night. But you know what? The offense showed some explosive times. The defense only gave up 249 yards. More importantly, a 17-point win. I think that if you're an Iowa State fan and you wouldn't have taken that at about 3 o'clock yesterday, you're absolutely insane. My analysis, great win for Iowa State. Let's move forward and look towards the Hawks.
Yeah,
what's your take, Tim?
I love sports talk, and you can talk all the time. What went right, what went wrong. A win is a win. Mm-hmm. And we went into this game, and I think what I predicted, it was a little closer. I predicted a little closer, but there was no doubt in my mind as I watched the game in my family room and enjoyed that. I wish I could have been at the game, but I was working. But what a wonderful game to watch. It was never in doubt. The offense had control of the game. Few mistakes, first game jitters. That happens. I thought the defense stood up. We were concerned about the defense. I think they're going to be in position. I listened to your show this morning with Dace. It was wonderful to listen to you. Right on. I really believe that we're going to see an improved team next week against the Hawks. I think, as you talked about this morning, and I think they're going to continue to show that they're Paul Rhodes' coach team. The defense looked great at all times. Now, you could argue that the Northern Illinois wasn't ready to go in the first half, and I kind of think that happened. They came out the second half ready to go. The coach chewed their butt at halftime. Mm-hmm. They looked like a different team.
And I think Iowa State may have let up a little bit.
A little bit.
Because the offensive line just was not getting that push there in the third quarter.
But that offense could score. They're going to score on everybody they play. They have a great offense, and Arnott had a wonderful game and controlled the game for the most part. A couple of little silly deals, but that's first game, and you're going to make mistakes. Everybody who wants him to have a perfect game, forget it. He's a young man trying to play football, and he played a great game, and I think they're going to give Iowa all they want. Obviously the competition level goes up quite a bit, and Iowa will have a game under their belt. We'll know more Saturday what they look like. So it's going to be fun next week. As I predicted early in the season, probably a 3 to 7 point game. Maybe I'm hedging back a little bit toward Iowa State after seeing them, let's all hope for an upset. Let's see what happens.
I will say this about next week's game. First of all, I don't think tomorrow means anything for Iowa.
No.
With Hampton out, they're going to win by 40-some points. They're not going to show anything, and frankly, if they did, it doesn't matter because you know what you're getting when you play a Kirk Ferentz team.
Right.
You know what you're getting. There's nothing for Iowa to hide.
Right.
But I do say this, Tim. I like the way this game is setting up for game week for Iowa State.
Yeah.
I don't think Iowa State's going to win.
Right.
But I feel like there's a little bit more of a chance of an upset next week now after seeing what I saw last night. The reason I like what's happening is, I see Skip Bayless just picked Iowa to win the national championship.
I didn't see that.
My friend John Miller at HawkeyeNation.com, he picked Iowa to go 12-0. All of a sudden, Iowa's not that under the radar pick now. All of a sudden, the Hawks, and rightfully so, I'm not taking anything away from them. All of a sudden, the Hawks are kind of like the flavor of the month here.
Right.
And I just look back at this rivalry. It seems like when all the pressure's on Iowa next week, there's no pressure on Iowa State at all. This is a team that beat you by 32 points last year. Right. You're going into their house. You got all these newcomers on defense. The pressure's on Iowa. I just like the way that sets up Iowa State. I'm not saying I think it's going to be a win for Iowa State. I'm not calling my shot right now. But if that offense looks like they did in the first quarter, if Austin could... Really, I think he had one really bad decision last night in the third quarter.
Yeah, absolutely.
The first interception, it wasn't good. He threw into double coverage, and it got tipped. Had that ball not gotten tipped, might be a different story.
Right.
I have a lot better feeling about next week than I did 24 hours ago.
I totally agree with you. And whenever Iowa's come out and not been under the radar, they've struggled in their seasons past. If you look historically, and when they've been rated high, they've had a hard time. And when you can't sneak up on somebody, it's a much tougher kind of pressure. I think you're going to see a coach like Paul Rhodes take advantage of this underdog situation. That's why I think it's going to be much closer than a lot of people, especially on the Hawk side of the ball next week. It's going to be much closer than they think, because I think you've got a real high quality offense, and even though if you dissect the Hawks, their defense is probably as good as you're going to come up against,
and that has to be pointed out as well.
Yeah,
maybe the best defensive line in college football.
Maybe
Iowa State plays next week, so it's going to be a heck of a lot different that first quarter against Iowa as opposed to the first quarter against Northern Illinois. And keep in mind, Iowa State hasn't scored a touchdown against Iowa in how many years?
A long time.
But that's also, Paul Rhodes only has to do with one of those games. And let's be frank here, if Austin Arnaud's not throwing jump balls to the Iowa secondary last year, that's a whole different game. Iowa State was in that game.
Absolutely.
But you can't. It's hard to say that, too, because he did throw the turnovers, and Iowa took advantage of them. Right. They won the game.
I agree.
I'm just saying, if Austin corrects those errors next week, you got to give Iowa 10 points for playing at Kinnick Stadium. But I just don't think we're going to see a traditional, as we've seen the last 2-3 years, where Iowa State can't score against the Hawks. I think going to be some points.
There's no question about it. I actually think Iowa State can score 21-plus points.
I do too.
I don't see a defense in the nation that's going to hold them to no touchdowns in a game. I just don't see that. And the only thing that happens, and this is, and I'm not going to say this in a negative way, because I think Arnaud had an unbelievable game. He looked fabulous. He looked
75% completion percentage.
He looked all Big 12. But the pressure comes up when the defense changes, and you just got to make good decisions. And he didn't make but one bad decision last night. And I think when a quarterback that's 21 years of age goes out there and makes one bad decision in the whole game, I think that's an A-plus night. That's an A-plus night.
I will say this to wrap things up. After last night, like I say, I don't care what Iowa does tomorrow. I mean, they could win by 2 or they could win by 200. It's not going to make any difference to me. I'm starting to think that next week in Kinnick, you're going to see a high-scoring game.
I wouldn't doubt that.
Because generally, I'm starting to think that this could be like a 35-31 type deal.
Could be.
I think Iowa State's going to have a tough time stopping that. Not only the rushing attack, but they got some receivers over there in Iowa City too.
Yeah.
And that's a big statement for me. I understand. And if you're a Hawk fan watching this, you're going to blow me up, because you're going to, how do you predict Iowa State to score that many points against?
And they haven't scored.
But it's a different ball game. I mean, it is a different team. Iowa State's receivers are so much deeper this year. Darks is healthy. Johnson's healthy. Darius Reynolds was healthy for the Iowa game last year. It's all on Austin Arnaud. I hate putting it all on him, but it is. If he comes out, he's got to play nearly a perfect game, maybe a perfect game, to go out and beat Iowa next week. If he does that, we could have a really fun vlog here in a couple of weeks.
It'd be really fun to see an upset, and that could happen. Let's put it out there. That could happen.
We're not saying we think it will, but it's a possibility.
It is and it could happen. We last year before the Nebraska game, how many would have predicted they would have beat Nebraska? So things can happen. Those turnovers can go to Iowa State's side of the ball. You just don't know how it's going to be. I know Stanzi last year.
Ricky Stanzi,
he throws a lot of crazy passes. So who knows what's going to happen next week? I know this, and I'll predict this. It's a close game. It's a 3 to 7 point game. I kind of am on your side of the table, and we'll wrap it up. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Okay. Well, I hope it's an exciting game. Great day for the state of Iowa. Tim, we appreciate it. What's going on at Mr. B's this weekend?
Mr. B's is full of wonderful fall clothing, and if you've been out this morning, it's crisp. It feels like fall. Time to come and take a look at us. 1995 Northwest 86th Street in wonderful Clive, Iowa. Thanks for Chris coming in this morning. Good luck to you today, and good luck, Hawks and Cyclones next week. Keep those kids healthy. I don't want to see injuries, and it's a long season.
All right. Well, have a great weekend here at Mr. B's, Tim. We appreciate you watching today. Have a great weekend watching football, everybody. For Tim Sitzmann, I'm Chris Williams.